Helldivers. In fact, a lot of people love Helldivers. When I started recording this video, it had 45,000 players online concurrently, and that was just on Steam, which put it ahead of Call of Duty and just behind an 18-year-old game that I didn't know anyone still played. Just recently the game launched on Xbox, and lately there's been moments where it's been over 300,000 players online at any one time. And a quick PSA for any of the newcomers on Xbox: the most powerful stratagems are the Tesla Tower, 320mm orbital barrage, airburst launcher, and the portable hell bomb, so you should focus on unlocking these first. Your teammates will thank you later. Anyway, Helldivers 2 appeals to a lot of people, and in this video I'm going to explore what it is that makes Helldivers so appealing to so many. It's actually something I can't quite put my finger on. I mean, broadly speaking, it has great gameplay, great aesthetics, there's no denying that, but I think there's more to it than that. It's cinematic. Like, really cinematic. With all the action, all the explosions, all the pretty backdrops, almost every moment is just cinema. It's basically like if Michael Bay directed a video game. Take a look at this average bit of gameplay where I've just turned the HUD off. Sound design is something that's easily taken for granted in games, but the sound design in Helldivers is really, really good. Every weapon, every enemy, every explosion has its own sound. It comes together in this symphony of action that really adds to the immersion, topped off by an iconic music score. Part of the appeal is the familiarity with so many aspects of the game. It's got Halo vibes, and just recently Arrowhead released the first official IP crossover. More on that later. Sometimes it feels like Warhammer 40k. There are times when you're mowing down hordes of zombies, and it's clearly borrowed a lot from Starship Troopers. If you're into any of these things, you'll probably feel like Helldivers resonates with it. For example, this particular enemy is clearly inspired by the tripods in War of the Worlds. And it's obvious that the Tyranids are the bugs from Starship Troopers, but they also vibe with the Tyranids from Warhammer 40k. These automaton enemies, which were recently added, are straight out of Robocop 2. Basically, the game borrows a little bit of this and that from here and there, so that even though you probably never heard of Helldivers until the release of Helldivers 2 last year, you start playing it and it feels familiar. In fact, with the whole regiment of Xbox players joining the fight against tyranny, Arrowhead have done an official crossover with Halo. The new war bond includes ODST armor, classic Halo assault rifle and shotgun, and more. Now, if I'm honest, I'm disappointed that it didn't include the M12 FAV, affectionately known as the Warthog, although if you ask me, it looks more like a Puma. Anyway, it looks like the road ahead will involve crossovers from lots of other IPs. I'd like to see some official Warhammer 40k content. Let me know what crossovers you'd like to see. One of my favourite parts of the game is just the explosions. They're just impressive. Between the lighting and the particle effects, and how big and bad they are, combined with the audio and explosive sounds, the explosions are something else. Even though there's no real big narrative to the game, Helldivers is a vibe. It's got all this hoorah energy and the glorification of war, and it's got all this thank you for your service, well, lip service, with talks of patriotism, freedom, democracy, and all that hoorah energy, so that you don't accidentally start to question whether or not we really are the good guys. In fact, there's subtle and not so subtle hints to the general propaganda of war in today's age. For example, you'll kill hordes of Tyranids, the Starship Trooper bug-type enemies, and you're told you're doing the honourable thing, sacrificing your life in the name of democracy, liberating planets from tyranny. But you'll also learn that Tyranids are harvested for element 710, a highly potent fuel source that enables faster than light space travel. So we're told the war is about freedom, but perhaps what it's actually about is something else. Now that I've talked about the lore for a while, I'm ready to talk about the gameplay. I deliberately left this until a few minutes in so that if you haven't played the game, you'll be able to spend some time watching the gameplay. The movement is smooth and feels great, especially for a third-person shooter. I usually feel like third-person shooters have this sort of jankiness to them, but not Helldivers. Movement feels very smooth and organic. It actually sort of plays like you wish a Star Wars Battlefront game would play. You'll kill a lot of enemies, like so many enemies, and you'll also fight some Titan-sized enemies. In a way, it's kind of got Dark Souls vibes, if Dark Souls let you call in a napalm strike every time things got out of hand. But I feel like if this was made by another developer like Bungie or From Software, enemies would have health bars above their heads and little numbers popping out of them every time you do damage. In Helldivers, you can tell when you've caused damage to enemies because limbs fall off, or you break down their armour and expose their soft, fleshy underbelly. It doesn't break the immersion by having giant health bars or numbers popping out of enemies when you do damage. It's PvE, meaning the enemy is computer-controlled bots, as opposed to PvP, where the enemy is other players. Being PvE, it's generally slower paced and less stressful. It really suits us 30-something-year-olds who don't have as much time to game as we used to and just want to pop on for a few hours and have some fun. PvE means you don't have to lose a gunfight to someone whose greatest tactical advantage is unemployment. But just because it's PvE doesn't mean you can't accidentally PvP your friends from time to time. You see, dropping 500 kilograms of upright down 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 on your enemies can easily lead to some friendly fire incidents. Holy shit. There you go, that works. Finally. You're not forced into using the meta build. You can goof around trying out different weapons and stratagems and still survive. You don't have to lock into one specific M4 meta build just to have a chance of surviving. Sure, it might not be a walk in the park and you might die more, but you'll probably have more fun doing it. Fuck! Okay, jetpack and flamethrower is actually not a good combination, because when you point it down, you set fire to your feet. Even when you do die, it's no big deal. Your enemies can just call you back into the fight as reinforcements. You do have a limited number of reinforcements, but they're pretty plentiful. I have over 60 hours in the game, and I think I've only failed the mission twice. When you come back as reinforcements, you're actually a different Helldiver. See, in Helldivers, you are not the main character. You just play as the next expendable soldier, ready to sacrifice yourself in the name of democracy. The difficulty levels scale really well. There's 10 different levels from trivial to super Helldive, and each level is measurably more intense than the last, but not by too much. As you go up in difficulty, you'll come across more enemies and also more types of enemies, including Titans. It's also got one of the 3 major keys to the male psyche, upgrading your stuff. You can unlock new stratagems, which are basically Pokeballs which release airstrikes, support weapons, turrets, or basically any way of delivering democracy that you can imagine. You can upgrade your ship too, giving buffs to your stratagems, and unlock new armor sets and weapons, each of which do damage in a very different way. It does have microtransactions, but because it's not PvP, it's not pay to win, and if you don't want to spend money, you can earn or grind for in-game currency, called super credits. And they're actually very achievable without spending real-world money. Unlike, for example, Call of Duty, where if you don't spend any real-world money, you really can't unlock much. Anyway, all of this goes to say that I've really enjoyed playing Helldivers lately. It's some of the most fun I've had playing a video game in a while. If you like Helldivers, I'd like to know what you think makes the game so great. Hey, thanks for watching to the end. You know, if you like this video, you might like some of my other videos, so consider hitting subscribe so they come up in your feed from now on. Here's a link to a video of mine that I think you might like, and then here's a link to a video of mine that the YouTube algorithm thinks you might like. And then over here I've left a link to another YouTuber altogether who I also think you might like, so feel free to check them out too. Thanks for watching to the end.